Activists from around the city of Boston are looking forward to the upcoming Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, January 16th, with a special program that honors the famed civil rights icon along with Amilcar Cabral, the well-known Cape Verdean freedom fighter. Now, for the last 20 years, King and Cabral have been celebrated at UMass Boston for their work for social justice and political organizing. Now, this year marks 2 decades of hosting the community event, which is a free event. With it comes a day of reflection and also the release of a new book. My guest today is Professor Tony Van der Meer of UMass Boston, who teaches a course on Martin Luther King at UMass Boston, and also a student, well, I don't know, he's a former student, or he's a student now, Askia Acquah Hanson, who's, I got here, student UMass Boston of sociology, and I guess you had him as a professor.
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Welcome to Urban Update.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here to tell me. So today is the 8th, so not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow at UMass Boston.
Exactly.
Tell me what's going to happen from 11 o'clock on.
Well, generally, we have a light breakfast, and then we'll have some music by Candida Rose, who has been doing that for a number of years. And then we'll have a discussion with panelists. We generally have someone from the community, and we have some students. So this year we have Vasallo, who's a state rep, Massachusetts state rep, who's going to speak. And we had someone cancel out, but we're looking at possibly Mimi Jones as the person to fill in for her, who has been honored during the 50th anniversary around Selma. She was one of the heroes of that period, so we invited her to come as well.
Is this a good opportunity for different generations to come together and learn from each other? Because each generation, goes, you want to keep the message, and there's certain different issues all the time. I always see these as a great opportunity for younger folks to get I'm not calling you old, but you've been around a little bit longer, right?
Yeah.
To come together on a very special occasion.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, what I love about this program is that we always have young people there. So we get folks coming from Brockton and other places, around outside of Boston, who come and attend this particular event. And so what we usually do is have them engage in a discussion as well, so to maintain that continuity, and as we talk about even the legacy, around the leadership of both Cabral and Dr. King.
Yeah. And we'll segue into some of the youth, because you are a student of sociology there. Do you find that your generation likes to go to these events and actually learn and kind of participate?
Well, that's kind of complex right there. They do and they don't.
Okay.
They love to go to them because they love to get new information. They do love to meet new people. However, some of them feel like some of the events are redundant. So a lot of times, as we do each event, we try to do
come up with like
different
something
formats.
fresh.
Yeah, exactly, different formats. So this time we have like a round table, so people can be more engaged.
Yeah.
So the last event that we had also last year, we had a round table. So we're trying to get the students more engaged and more involved.
And in these roundtables, people are very free to speak their mind, right? And to bring up issues and talk about stuff that maybe they don't get an opportunity all year long, correct?
Exactly, exactly. And that's what's important, because with the students, what I found being a student myself is that a lot of students need to be engaged. They need to also apply what's history, but also what's also in the present. Also, especially dealing with social media, Black Lives Matter, and dealing with other issues that the youth face, on campus and off campus.
Yeah. Now, Professor, let's talk a little bit about the main message here. I know it's going to be revolve on leadership and legacy, but it's a very significant weekend that this happens on. How do you kind of view, what role does this event play in the overall kind of like discussion around Martin Luther King Jr. holiday?
Well, one is to remind us of the rich tradition of struggle, and particularly since that's what we have dealing with Emil Cabral, is to deal with, number one, Dr. King was born around that time, and Cabral was assassinated around that time. And so they both represent, different tendencies. Cabral was engaged in armed struggle. Dr. King was dealing with nonviolent, resistance and so forth. But the main point is that we have to resist the type of oppression that happens in our communities. So we want people to remember the history that brought many of us here to where we are in our participation in what we call a democracy today, to increase that, to make it more transparent and so forth. And so we're talking about people who engage in anti-colonial struggles. And so when you look at today, you see we're facing similar situations in terms of people feeling that their particular freedoms are being denied, or they're not getting the kind of access that they should deserve as all human beings should deserve in the society.
Are you doing your job in trying to get the word out to some of the students and some of the younger folks?
Yes, right now I'm in charge of the social media part, so just getting the word out on Facebook, through my club, through the different clubs, spreading the word out through the different communities like Roxbury, Dorchester. So just just really getting the word out to people and explaining them what it is, and like those who don't see the reason to come, explaining them why they should come.
All right, give me a pitch. Let's say you're on the streets and I'm a young person, 18 to 21. And say, I don't want to go to that. It's the same stuff every year. What's your response?
For my response, I mean, I'm not do my best to give a pitch, but basically for me is how I try to explain it is that if you're like a young African American, a lot of African Americans don't see the reason to come to certain things like this is bridging the gap between Africans and African Americans and showing that the struggles of Amilcar Cabral and Martin Luther King, how they laid a platform, a legacy for us to follow, and that is very important to come there. Like if a lot of people feel like they don't feel like they should come to these because if like this is the same thing, then come to these events and then raise your concerns, your voice.
And for you, Professor, why is it important for older folks as well? Some of the kind of the old timers, right, or pioneers, let's call them, right, to interact and learn from some of the young folks.
Well, they have to pass on the tradition. They have to share their experiences, their knowledge, because a lot of times we can't assume that young people hear a name and they're aware of the particular history. So we have to pass the torch, because we have to continue this process of creating transformational change, not only in ourselves but in our community, and it is our responsibility to pass that torch.
Okay, you could do that 1 week from tomorrow
yes,
at
sir.
UMass Boston. Thank you, and all the best luck for that event.
Thank you.
And for next year, 21st, I'll invite you back.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's it for this edition of Urban Update. But before we go, a quick reminder to all men and boys out there, the Massachusetts White Ribbon Day campaign invites all of you to be part of the solution in ending violence against women. That's why I'm wearing this white ribbon. Byron Barnett was wearing it as well, to help raise awareness, and I encourage all of you to do that. The website on screen has more information for all of us here at Urban Update. Have a great Sunday, everyone.